I stared at my phone screen in complete disbelief, refreshing my banking app for the fifth time. My savings account showed $0.37. $28,000 had vanished overnight. The same account I had been building for 3 years, saving every penny from my marketing job for my dream house down payment. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transaction history. One withdrawal. Authorized by a joint account holder I had completely forgotten about. My mother, Diane Castellano, had cleaned me out while I slept. But here is where you come in. Before we dive into this family betrayal that turned my world upside down, I want to know where you are watching from today. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you are ready for a revenge story that will have you questioning everything about family loyalty, smash that like button and hit subscribe, because this tale of financial manipulation and sweet justice is just getting started. Trust me, you will want to see how karma comes for people who think blood gives them the right to steal from their own children. The joint account had been opened when I turned 18, something my mother insisted on for emergencies. I had never touched it, never even thought about it after moving out. Now I understood why she had been so insistent. This was not about emergencies. This was about maintaining access to my money whenever she needed it. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister, Aurora. Thanks for finally stepping up for family. Mom told me you decided to help with my credit card situation after all. I called her immediately. Aurora, what are you talking about? I never agreed to pay off your debt. Come on, Seraphina, do not play games. Mom transferred the money this morning. She said you finally came to your senses about helping your little sister. My blood turned to ice. She took that money without my permission. That was my house fund, Aurora. 3 years of savings. Wait, what? She said you agreed to it. She showed me text messages from you saying you wanted to help. Show me those messages right now. 20 minutes later, Aurora arrived at my apartment with screenshots that made my stomach drop. The messages were from my phone number, but I had never sent them. Somehow, my mother had gained access to my phone, probably during last Sunday's family dinner, when I had left it charging in the kitchen. The messages showed a conversation where I allegedly told my mother I felt guilty about Aurora struggling and wanted to help. They were written in my typical texting style, complete with my usual phrases and emoji choices. My mother had studied my communication patterns and crafted perfect forgeries. Aurora, I need to know everything about this debt. How did it get to $15,000? My sister shifted uncomfortably. It started small, just a few hundred for groceries when I was between jobs. Then my car needed repairs, and I had that medical bill from when I broke my wrist. Mom said not to worry about it, that you were doing well and would probably help eventually. Mom said what? She has been planning this for months, Sarah. She kept saying you were selfish for saving money while your sister struggled. She showed me your bank statements, said you were hoarding money that should be shared with family. The violation hit me like a physical blow. She showed you my private bank statements. She has access to your online banking. She said you gave her the passwords for emergencies. I had never given my mother my banking passwords, but I remembered her borrowing my laptop several months ago when hers crashed. She must have saved my login information. The systematic invasion of my privacy was staggering. Aurora pulled out her phone and showed me more evidence. Screenshots of conversations between her and our mother stretching back 6 months. In them, Diane Castellano detailed her plan to gradually convince Aurora that I owed her financial support. She had been manipulating both of us, feeding Aurora stories about my supposed selfishness while secretly planning to raid my accounts. "Look at this one," Aurora said, pointing to a message from 3 weeks ago. Mom wrote, "Seraphina thinks she is better than us now with her fancy job and savings account. She needs to learn what family responsibility means. Do not worry about the credit card debt. I will make sure she covers it." The calculated nature of the manipulation was breathtaking. My mother had spent months orchestrating this theft, positioning herself as the reasonable mediator, while painting me as the selfish daughter who needed to be taught a lesson about family loyalty. But the worst revelation was yet to come. Aurora showed me bank records from her credit card payments over the past year. The $15,000 debt was not from emergencies or necessities. Nearly $8,000 had been spent on vacation packages, designer handbags, and expensive restaurant meals. All while I worked overtime shifts and brown-bagged lunches to save money. "Aurora, you spent my savings on vacation in Florida last month. I thought you had agreed to help. Mom said you wanted me to take a break and enjoy myself. She said you felt guilty about being successful while I was struggling." The manipulation went deeper than simple theft. My mother had convinced Aurora that my financial responsibility was somehow a betrayal of family loyalty, that my savings represented money hoarded away from relatives who deserved it more. She had reframed my 3 years of disciplined saving as an act of family abandonment that justified taking the money without permission. I spent the rest of the day gathering evidence. Bank statements, screenshots, email records of my mother accessing my accounts. The pattern of unauthorized access went back months. Small transfers that I had attributed to banking errors. Purchases on my credit card that I thought were mistakes. My mother had been financially stalking me for half a year, preparing for this massive theft. The most damaging evidence came from Aurora's phone records. Text conversations with our mother revealed the full scope of the manipulation. Diane had coached Aurora on exactly what to say if I questioned the debt. She had prepared responses for every possible objection I might raise. She had even researched family obligation laws to see if she could legally justify taking the money. By evening, the picture was complete. This was not an impulsive decision or a family emergency gone wrong. This was a premeditated financial assault orchestrated by the person who was supposed to protect me most. My mother had weaponized my own sister against me, turning Aurora into an unwitting accomplice in an elaborate theft scheme. Monday morning, I walked into the First National Bank with a folder full of evidence and a recording app running on my phone. I had called ahead and requested a meeting with the branch manager about unauthorized access to my accounts. What I discovered during that meeting would become the foundation for everything that followed. The bank manager, Patricia Williams, reviewed my joint account history with growing alarm. "Ms. Castellano, I need to inform you that your mother has been accessing your account information far more frequently than you might realize. Our records show she has logged into online banking 47 times in the past 6 months, often downloading statements and transaction histories. She downloaded my statements every 2 weeks like clockwork. She also called our customer service line multiple times requesting information about your account balance and spending patterns. Our representatives noted her calls because she seemed unusually interested in monitoring your financial activity." Patricia pulled up additional records that made my blood run cold. My mother had attempted to remove me from the joint account twice in the past 3 months. Only a technicality in the account setup had prevented her from gaining sole access to my money. "There is more, Ms. Castellano. Your mother submitted a change of address form for your account last month, attempting to redirect your banking statements to her home address. Our fraud prevention team flagged it because the handwriting analysis did not match your signature on file. The systematic nature of her financial stalking was becoming clear. This was not opportunistic theft. My mother had been planning a complete takeover of my finances, positioning herself to control my money indefinitely. But Patricia had more devastating news. We also need to discuss the credit check authorization. Your mother submitted paperwork 3 weeks ago requesting access to your credit report, claiming she was helping you apply for a mortgage. The application was denied because she could not provide sufficient identity verification, but the attempt is documented. My mother had tried to access my credit report. She was not just stealing my current savings. She was positioning herself to understand my complete financial picture, possibly to take on debt in my name. I requested copies of every document my mother had submitted to the bank. The forgeries were sophisticated. She had practiced my signature dozens of times, gradually perfecting the reproduction. She had researched banking procedures to understand exactly what documentation she needed to gain access to my accounts. The bank's security footage was the most damning evidence. Patricia showed me recordings from the past month of my mother visiting the branch, speaking with tellers, and even attempting to access my safety deposit box. In one particularly disturbing clip, she could be seen photographing documents from my file when the teller briefly stepped away. Ms. Castellano, based on this evidence, we are prepared to file fraud charges against your mother. This level of systematic unauthorized access constitutes financial abuse. We can also help you recover the stolen funds through our fraud protection program. But I had a different plan. Not yet. I need to gather more evidence about how extensive this goes. Can you help me set up monitoring on all my accounts to track any future unauthorized access attempts? Patricia agreed to implement enhanced security monitoring and provide me with detailed logs of all account activity. She also connected me with the bank's fraud investigation team, who explained how financial abuse cases typically develop. Ms. Castellano, what you are describing is textbook financial manipulation, explained Detective Sarah Martinez, who specialized in family financial crimes. The gradual boundary violations, the unauthorized monitoring, the forged communications. Your mother has been grooming you and your sister for this theft for months. Detective Martinez provided me with resources for documenting financial abuse and explained how these cases typically escalated. The most dangerous phase comes when the perpetrator realizes they have been discovered. Your mother will likely attempt to justify the theft, minimize the damage, or shift blame to you for being selfish or ungrateful. She was absolutely right. That evening, my phone rang with a call from my mother. Seraphina, honey, I heard you went to the bank today. You are making this much more complicated than it needs to be. Aurora needed help, and you have plenty of money. This is what families do for each other. I kept my voice steady. Mom, you stole $28,000 from my account without permission. That is not family help. That is theft. Theft. How dare you use that word with me? I gave birth to you, raised you, sacrificed everything for you and your sister. The least you can do is help Aurora when she is struggling. You have been selfish and ungrateful, hoarding money while your sister suffers. The manipulation was textbook. Guilt minimization and reframing theft as family obligation. But I was recording the conversation and every word would become evidence. Mom, you forged text messages from my phone to trick Aurora into thinking I agreed to this. You accessed my bank accounts without permission for months. You tried to change my address and access my credit report. This goes far beyond helping Aurora. The silence stretched for long seconds before she responded with venom I had never heard before. You always thought you were better than us, did you not? With your college degree and your fancy job. Well, let me tell you something, princess. That money came from this family, and this family has a right to it when we need it. Aurora understands family loyalty. Maybe it is time you learned what real consequences look like. The threat was clear and recorded. My mother was not backing down. She was escalating. But I was ready for war. The next morning brought a flood of text messages from extended family members, all saying variations of the same thing. I was selfish, ungrateful, and cruel for refusing to help my struggling sister. My mother had spent the night calling every relative, spinning a story about my heartless abandonment of family values. My cousin Rebecca was the first to call me directly. "Sarah, what the hell is wrong with you? Aunt Diane is sobbing, saying you are trying to press charges against her for helping Aurora pay off debt. She said you agreed to help, and now you are trying to destroy the family." "Rebecca, that is not what happened. Let me send you some screenshots." Within an hour, I had sent the evidence package to 5 family members. Bank statements showing the unauthorized withdrawal. Screenshots of the forged text messages. Documentation of my mother's systematic, unauthorized access to my accounts. The response was immediate and divided the family into 2 distinct camps. Rebecca called back within 30 minutes. "Oh my God, Sarah, this is not helping with debt. This is straight-up identity theft. She has been planning this for months." My Uncle David, a retired police officer, was even more direct. "Your mother committed multiple felonies here, kid. Forgery, unauthorized access to financial accounts, identity theft. You need to file charges immediately." But my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister, had a different perspective. "Seraphina, I understand you are upset, but destroying your mother's life over money seems extreme. Can you not just work out a payment plan with Aurora to get your money back?" The family was fracturing along predictable lines. Those who had experienced my mother's manipulation tactics before immediately recognized the pattern. Those who had been protected from her worst behaviors struggled to believe she was capable of such systematic abuse. My sister Aurora became my most crucial ally, but not in the way I expected. After seeing the complete evidence package, she was devastated by the realization that she had been manipulated into participating in a crime against me. "Sarah, I need to make this right. I had no idea how deep this went. She made me believe you were the selfish one, that helping me was your obligation as my successful sister." Aurora provided access to her phone records, email accounts, and financial documents. The evidence she uncovered was staggering. Our mother had been coaching her for months on how to maximize her debt, encouraging her to spend money on luxury items, while promising that I would ultimately cover the costs. "Look at these texts, Sarah, from 4 months ago. Mom wrote, 'Do not worry about the credit card balance. Seraphina makes good money, and she owes it to family to share. Buy yourself something nice. You deserve to enjoy life, too.'" Aurora had been transformed from my sister into a weapon against my financial security. My mother had spent months programming her to feel entitled to my money while simultaneously building resentment against me for not offering help voluntarily. But Aurora's cooperation came with devastating personal cost. When our mother realized Aurora had switched sides, the retaliation was swift and brutal. She called me last night and said if I testify against her, she will make sure everyone knows about my abortion 3 years ago. She said she will tell the whole family I am a murderer who killed her grandchild. The blackmail attempt revealed another layer of my mother's manipulation. She had been collecting personal secrets from both Aurora and me for years, storing them as ammunition for future conflicts. Aurora was terrified that our religious extended family would ostracize her if they learned about her private medical decisions. My uncle David became my most valuable strategic ally. His law enforcement background provided crucial guidance on building a criminal case, but his family connections gave me insight into my mother's historical patterns of manipulation. "Your mother pulled similar stunts when your grandmother was dying," he explained during a coffee meeting. "She convinced half the family that your grandmother wanted to change her will, then tried to get power of attorney to control the estate. We stopped her, but barely." David provided documentation of previous incidents where my mother had attempted to manipulate family financial decisions. A pattern emerged of escalating boundary violations, financial manipulation, and emotional blackmail dating back decades. She has been building towards something like this for years, Sarah. The question is how far she will go to avoid consequences. I was about to find out. My mother's next move was calculated and vicious. She filed a police report claiming I had been financially abusing her, stating that I had been taking money from her account without permission, and that she had only transferred my savings to protect Aurora from my theft. The false police report forced me to hire an attorney, Margaret Chen, who specialized in family financial crimes. Margaret's first advice was sobering. "Your mother is attempting to flip the narrative and position herself as the victim. This is common in financial abuse cases. The perpetrator often claims they were protecting someone else from the real abuser. We need to move quickly to establish the timeline and document her systematic pattern of unauthorized access." Margaret helped me file formal fraud charges and request a restraining order preventing my mother from accessing any of my financial accounts. But she also warned me about the emotional toll of fighting family members in court. Cases like this destroy families permanently, Seraphina. Your mother will likely escalate her attacks as she faces real consequences. Are you prepared for what that means? I thought I was prepared. I had no idea how wrong I could be. The restraining order was served on Thursday afternoon. By Friday morning, my mother had contacted my employer claiming I had been embezzling money from the company and using stolen funds to frame her for theft. My supervisor, Janet Williams, called me into her office with a confused and concerned expression. "Seraphina, I received a very disturbing call from someone claiming to be your mother. She alleged that you have been stealing from the company and that she has evidence of financial misconduct. I need you to help me understand what is happening." The false accusation against my professional reputation was my mother's most dangerous escalation yet. She was attempting to destroy my career to pressure me into dropping the charges against her. But Janet's response surprised me. "I told your mother that her accusations were completely baseless, and that if she contacted my office again with false allegations, I would be filing harassment charges. Your work record here is impeccable, and frankly, her behavior on the phone raised serious red flags about her mental state." My employer became an unexpected ally, providing documentation of the harassment attempt and offering to serve as a character witness if needed. But the incident made it clear that my mother was prepared to destroy every aspect of my life to avoid accountability for her crimes. The alliance network I was building extended beyond family into professional relationships, legal connections, and community support systems. Each person who learned the full truth about my mother's systematic financial abuse became another voice ready to testify about her pattern of manipulation and escalation. But even with growing support, I was unprepared for the betrayal that would nearly destroy everything I had worked to build. 3 weeks into building my case, I thought I had assembled an unshakable support network. My uncle David was helping coordinate legal strategy. Aurora was providing evidence of our mother's manipulation tactics, and my attorney, Margaret, had filed comprehensive fraud charges. I felt confident that justice was finally within reach. That confidence shattered when Aurora called me at 2 in the morning, sobbing hysterically. "Sarah, I am so sorry. I did not mean for this to happen. She made me do it. She said she would destroy me if I did not help her." Aurora slowed down. "What are you talking about?" "I gave Mom copies of everything. All the evidence we collected, all the recordings, your attorney's strategy documents. She has everything." The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. "What do you mean you gave her everything?" "She showed up at my apartment yesterday with photos, Sarah. Pictures of me at the clinic 3 years ago. Pictures of me with David Martinez, who is married. She said if I did not cooperate, she would send them to his wife and tell our whole family about my abortion. My sister had been blackmailed into betraying me, but the damage was already catastrophic. Aurora had access to my legal strategy, my evidence files, and my attorney's case preparation notes. Everything was now in my mother's hands. She knows about your bank monitoring setup. She knows about Uncle David helping you. She even knows about your new safety deposit box location. Sarah, she is planning something big, and now she has weeks to prepare." I called Margaret immediately despite the early hour. Her response was grim but not panicked. "This is why I document everything in duplicate and keep sensitive strategy information compartmentalized. Your mother now has some of our evidence, but she does not have our complete legal strategy. However, we need to assume she will use this information to launch a preemptive counterattack." Margaret was right. By Thursday morning, my mother had filed a comprehensive lawsuit against me, claiming I had stolen money from her over the years, and that my fraud allegations were an attempt to cover my own crimes. She had used my evidence files to identify exactly which accusations to address, and had crafted counter-narratives for every piece of documentation I had collected. But worse than the lawsuit was the public campaign she launched to destroy my reputation in our small community. Using information Aurora had provided about my support network, she contacted each ally individually with personalized attacks designed to turn them against me. She told my Uncle David that I had been secretly recording family conversations for months, violating everyone's privacy, and planning to use their personal information against them. She showed him edited recordings that made it appear I was bragging about manipulating family members for financial gain. She contacted my supervisor, Janet, with forged documents suggesting I had been using company resources to build my legal case, including using work computers to access personal banking information and storing evidence files on company servers. Most devastatingly, she reached out to my attorney, Margaret's other clients, claiming Margaret had shared confidential information about their cases with me, and that our attorney was ethically compromised. The systematic destruction of my support network was masterful in its precision. My mother had used Aurora's betrayal to identify the exact pressure points that would turn my allies against me, then executed targeted attacks designed to make them question my character and motives. Uncle David called me Friday evening with disappointment heavy in his voice. "Sarah, I need to step back from this situation. Your mother showed me recordings that suggest you have been planning this fraud accusation for months, possibly even manipulating situations to create evidence. I cannot, in good conscience, continue helping you if there is any chance these allegations are true. David, those recordings are edited. She is manipulating audio to create false evidence. Maybe, but I cannot risk my reputation on a family dispute that has gotten this complicated. I am sorry, but you are on your own." The isolation was exactly what my mother had planned. By turning my allies against me, she had eliminated their willingness to testify on my behalf, while simultaneously creating doubt about my credibility and motives. Aurora was devastated by the consequences of her betrayal, but also terrified of additional retaliation from our mother. Sarah, she said if I try to help you again, she will make sure I lose my apartment. She knows my landlord personally and claims she can convince him I am a drug user based on my prescription medication history. The threats were becoming more creative and far-reaching. My mother was leveraging years of accumulated knowledge about family members' vulnerabilities to maintain control through fear and intimidation. But the most devastating betrayal was yet to come. Margaret called me into her office Tuesday morning with an expression I had never seen before. Seraphina, I need to inform you that I can no longer represent you in this case. Your mother has filed an ethics complaint against me with the state bar, alleging that I have been sharing confidential client information and coaching you to fabricate evidence. Margaret, you know that is completely false. Of course it is false, but defending against bar complaints is expensive and time-consuming. More importantly, your mother somehow obtained copies of our privileged attorney-client communications and is threatening to make them public if I do not withdraw from your case. The legal privilege that should have protected our strategy sessions had been compromised through Aurora's betrayal. My mother now had access to confidential communications that could be taken out of context to support her ethics complaint. Without attorney-client privilege protection, I cannot effectively represent you. Any strategy we discuss could potentially be accessed by your mother through whatever source she has been using. I am ethically obligated to withdraw. Losing my attorney was the final blow in my mother's campaign to isolate me completely. She had systematically destroyed my family relationships, professional reputation, and legal representation, using information provided by the person I trusted most. But as I sat in my car outside Margaret's office, devastated and alone, my phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. I have been watching your mother's activities with great interest. We should meet. I have information that will change everything. The message was signed, a friend who understands family financial abuse. I was about to discover that my mother had made one crucial mistake in her campaign of destruction. She had assumed Aurora was her only victim in our extended family. She was very, very wrong. The mysterious contact turned out to be my cousin, Rachel Martinez, Uncle David's daughter, who I had not seen since childhood. We met at a coffee shop across town, where she revealed information that would completely transform my understanding of our family dynamics. Seraphina, your mother has been financially abusing family members for over 15 years. I have been documenting her activities because she nearly destroyed my parents' marriage 3 years ago. Rachel opened a laptop containing files that took my breath away. Spreadsheets tracking financial transactions, recorded phone conversations, screenshots of manipulative text messages, and documented instances of blackmail spanning more than a decade. After Mom died, your mother convinced my father that Mom had wanted to leave money specifically for Aurora's education. She forged documents, created fake email accounts, and nearly convinced Dad to transfer his entire inheritance to her control. The evidence Rachel had collected was staggering in its scope and detail. Financial records showing my mother had borrowed money from elderly relatives and never repaid it. Documentation of her accessing deceased family members' accounts after funerals. Evidence of her manipulating family members into co-signing loans she had no intention of repaying. She has been running the same scam on different family members for years, Sarah. The only reason I know about it is because I work in forensic accounting. When I saw the patterns in Dad's finances, I started investigating. Rachel's professional expertise in financial fraud investigation had allowed her to recognize signs that other family members missed. She had been quietly building a case against my mother for 3 years, waiting for the right moment to expose the full scope of her crimes. Your situation is just the latest escalation. She has stolen or manipulated her way to over $200,000 from family members over the past decade. The documentation Rachel provided was meticulously organized and legally admissible. Bank statements showing unauthorized transfers, forged signatures on loan documents, email correspondence where my mother admitted to manipulating family members' financial decisions. But the most damaging evidence was audio recordings of my mother coaching Aurora on how to manipulate me into providing financial support. "Listen to this one from 6 months ago," Rachel said, playing a crystal-clear recording. "Your mother is explaining to Aurora exactly how to maximize her debt and create a financial crisis that would force you to intervene." In the recording, my mother's voice was unmistakable. "Seraphina has always been a bleeding heart for family. If Aurora looks desperate enough, she will eventually break down and offer help. The key is making her feel guilty for being successful while her sister struggles. We just need to be patient and let the pressure build." The premeditated nature of the manipulation was chilling. My mother had been orchestrating my financial exploitation for months, carefully calibrating Aurora's financial crisis to maximize emotional pressure on me. Rachel had additional recordings of my mother planning the bank account theft, discussing how to forge text messages, and even researching legal defenses for financial abuse cases. "She knew exactly what she was doing, Sarah. She researched family financial abuse laws, studied bank security procedures, and planned every detail of this theft. This was not an impulsive decision or a family emergency. This was a calculated crime." But Rachel's most valuable contribution was her network of professional contacts in law enforcement and financial investigation. She introduced me to Detective Maria Santos, who specialized in complex family financial crimes and had been investigating similar cases for over a decade. "Ms. Castellano, your cousin, has provided us with evidence of what appears to be a sophisticated financial abuse operation targeting elderly and vulnerable family members. Your case fits a pattern we have been tracking across multiple families." Detective Santos explained that family financial abuse was often part of larger patterns of psychological manipulation and control. Perpetrators typically escalated their crimes over time, moving from small, unauthorized transactions to major theft and fraud. "Your mother's behavior suggests she views family relationships as opportunities for financial exploitation. The systematic nature of her planning indicates she will likely continue targeting family members unless she faces serious legal consequences." The detective helped me understand that my mother's retaliation campaign was actually providing additional evidence of her criminal mindset. The false police reports' harassment of my employer and intimidation of witnesses demonstrated consciousness of guilt and ongoing criminal behavior. Rachel also connected me with attorney James Wilson, a specialist in family financial crimes who had successfully prosecuted dozens of similar cases. "Ms. Castellano, based on the evidence your cousin has compiled, your mother has committed multiple felonies across several jurisdictions. We are not just looking at your stolen savings. We are looking at a pattern of financial crimes that could result in significant prison time." Attorney Wilson reviewed Rachel's evidence files and my original documentation, then laid out a comprehensive legal strategy that went far beyond recovering my stolen money. "We are going to file federal charges for wire fraud, identity theft, and elder abuse. Your mother used electronic banking systems to commit crimes across state lines and targeted elderly family members, which brings this under federal jurisdiction. The scope of potential charges was overwhelming. Mail fraud for the forged documents, identity theft for accessing my accounts without permission, elder abuse for manipulating elderly relatives, wire fraud for electronic financial crimes. Each charge carried potential prison sentences of several years. But Wilson also provided perspective on the broader implications of prosecuting family financial abuse. Cases like this often uncover additional victims who were too ashamed or intimidated to report the crimes initially. Your willingness to pursue charges will likely encourage other family members to come forward with their own evidence of financial abuse. He was absolutely right. Within a week of filing federal charges, 3 more family members contacted law enforcement with evidence of my mother's financial crimes. My great-aunt Helen had lost her entire inheritance to a forged investment scheme. My cousin Michael had been manipulated into co-signing loans that my mother never intended to repay. Even my Uncle David eventually admitted that my mother had stolen money from his business account years earlier. The criminal enterprise was far more extensive than anyone had realized. My mother had been systematically exploiting family relationships for financial gain across multiple generations and geographical locations. But the most satisfying evidence came from my mother's own behavior after the federal charges were filed. Facing the possibility of serious prison time, she attempted to contact family members with offers to repay stolen money in exchange for dropping charges. The phone calls were recorded by investigators capturing my mother admitting to crimes she had previously denied and offering specific financial settlements that demonstrated her awareness of the full scope of her theft. I can pay Seraphina back the $28,000, and I will give Helen her inheritance money back too, she said in one recorded call. Just convince them to drop the charges. I did not mean for it to go this far. The admissions of guilt were exactly what prosecutors needed to build an airtight case. My mother had confessed to multiple thefts while attempting to negotiate her way out of accountability. The federal trial began 8 months after my mother drained my bank account, and the courtroom was packed with family members she had victimized over the years. What had started as my fight for $28,000 had evolved into a comprehensive prosecution of a decade-long financial abuse operation. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of systematic financial crimes targeting vulnerable family members. Bank records, forged documents, recorded confessions, and testimony from multiple victims painted a picture of calculated predatory behavior that shocked even the experienced federal judge. My mother's defense attorney attempted to portray her actions as misguided family help rather than criminal exploitation. He argued that family financial disputes should be resolved privately rather than through criminal prosecution. Judge Patricia Morrison was not impressed with that argument. Ms. Castellano. The evidence presented in this court demonstrates a systematic pattern of financial exploitation, forgery, identity theft, and manipulation spanning over a decade. This was not family assistance gone wrong. This was a calculated criminal enterprise using family relationships as a cover for theft. The verdict came after only 6 hours of jury deliberation. Guilty on all charges: wire fraud, identity theft, elder abuse, mail fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. The sentence was 15 years in federal prison with mandatory restitution to all identified victims. The financial restitution totaled over $300,000, representing money stolen from 8 different family members across 12 years. Assets were seized from my mother's home, including jewelry and artwork purchased with stolen money, and her house was sold to fund victim compensation. But beyond the legal victory, the trial had exposed the truth about family dynamics that had been hidden for years. Multiple relatives who had been manipulated into believing they were borrowing money discovered they were actually victims of theft. Family feuds that had lasted years were revealed to be the result of my mother's deliberate manipulation designed to keep relatives from comparing notes about her financial behavior. My relationship with Aurora underwent a complete transformation. The trial process helped her understand the full extent of how she had been manipulated and used as a weapon against me. She entered therapy to address the psychological impact of being groomed for financial exploitation and made a commitment to complete transparency about her finances going forward. Sarah, I know I can never fully make up for betraying you to Mom, but I want to spend the rest of my life proving that I understand what real family loyalty means. Aurora moved across the country to start fresh, free from our mother's sphere of influence. We talk regularly now, and our relationship is stronger than it has ever been, because it is built on honesty rather than manipulation. Uncle David eventually apologized for abandoning me during the crisis, admitting that my mother had showed him expertly edited recordings designed to turn him against me. He provided testimony during the trial about my mother's historical pattern of dividing family members against each other to prevent them from coordinating resistance to her schemes. I should have known better, he said. Your mother has been pulling similar stunts for decades, but she got so good at it that even those of us who should have recognized the pattern got fooled. My cousin Rachel became the sister I had always wanted, and we now work together helping other families recognize and address financial abuse. Her forensic accounting expertise combined with my experience as a victim provides a powerful combination for identifying financial exploitation patterns. We have helped 12 families over the past year identify and prosecute financial abuse cases, and the ripple effects continue expanding. Each successful prosecution encourages additional victims to come forward, creating a growing network of support for people who thought they were alone in their struggles against family financial predators. My professional life flourished once the criminal charges vindicated my character and exposed my mother's harassment campaign. My employer not only provided strong support during the trial, but promoted me to a senior marketing position with responsibility for the company's ethics and compliance initiatives. The house I had been saving for became a reality 18 months after my mother's conviction, purchased with recovered funds and a settlement from the bank's insurance company. But more importantly, it represents a space free from manipulation and control, where I can build relationships based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. The financial abuse experience taught me that family is not determined by blood relationships or legal obligations. Family consists of people who support your well-being, respect your boundaries, and celebrate your successes without demanding payment for their love. My chosen family now includes Aurora, Rachel, Uncle David, my coworkers who supported me during the crisis, and new friends who love me for who I am, rather than what I can provide for them. These relationships are healthier and stronger than any I had before, because they are based on genuine care rather than manipulation and guilt. The trial also revealed that my mother's financial crimes were symptoms of deeper psychological issues that had never been addressed. Expert witnesses testified that family financial abuse typically involves personality disorders that make perpetrators incapable of recognizing other people's autonomy and rights. Understanding the psychological context of her behavior helped me let go of guilt about pursuing criminal charges. My mother's imprisonment was not revenge or family destruction. It was necessary protection for current and future victims of her criminal behavior. The case attracted media attention that helped raise awareness about family financial abuse as a serious crime requiring legal consequences. I have spoken at conferences and written articles about recognizing financial manipulation tactics and building support networks for victims. Most importantly, the experience taught me that standing up for yourself against family members who exploit your love and loyalty is not betrayal. It is self-preservation and protection of other potential victims. Looking back, I realized that my mother's theft of my savings was actually a gift in disguise. It forced me to recognize patterns of manipulation that had been affecting my entire life, gave me the courage to establish boundaries with toxic family members, and connected me with people who became genuine family through choice rather than accident of birth. Now, I want to hear your thoughts about family boundaries and financial responsibility. Have you ever dealt with relatives who felt entitled to your money or success? How do you handle family members who use guilt and manipulation to get what they want? Share your experiences in the comments below, because your stories might help someone else recognize manipulation tactics they are facing. If this story of family financial abuse and justice served resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe for more true stories about standing up to toxic family dynamics and building healthier relationships. Thank you for watching my journey from victim to survivor to advocate. Remember, you deserve relationships built on love and respect, not manipulation and exploitation. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong. Document everything, and never let anyone convince you that family loyalty requires accepting abuse. Keep building your chosen family with people who celebrate your success instead of exploiting it. And I will see you in the next video with another story of justice served and boundaries respected.